thank you for coming. So my name is Hugo Cuevas-Mohr. I'm the CEO of CrossTech, and we are doing this workshop, which we call the Digital Way, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But first, let me tell you that we're happy to see you here. This is, we began the IMTC conference in 2010, so it's been quite a number of years doing this. This has been the Miami conference is been always the flagship of the conferences. So we had an IMTC West conference. We have done conference in different parts of the world, but this is home for us. And of course, it was hard to go through COVID and not doing our presentials, we cannot say that everything is over because we don't know. I mean, we kind of understand now that this is an unpredictable world. I think that all of us have learned that, but we're happy to be back. We're happy to have the number of attendees as we had before the COVID, which is great. With so many new faces, this industry really has grown so much, and all this year I've been writing this book. We're going to launch it tomorrow. The Spanish version will be launched tomorrow. The English version will take about 2-3 months. And because I'm rewriting with another public in mind. But I was looking at all the licenses in Florida, Texas, California, and New York. And it's amazing that more than 50% of the licenses as money transmitters, which covers everybody in the non-bank financial sector, more than 50% were issued in the last 5 years. And there is states that have been issuing licenses for 60-70 years. So that just shows you how many new licenses are being granted in this country where we have, one license every state. One in one, so it's a lot of new companies, and of course most of the new ones, not most, I will say 100% of the new ones are digital companies. That's a given. But so everybody, even what happened with COVID, we have digital in our minds, but in the sense that money transmitters really, even from the beginning. We've changed through technology, and I started doing money transfers with telex. We moved into fax. Fax was the big thing, the big driver. Internet and this. So technology has always been there. So when we talk about going digital, we always been transforming ourselves through technology, and that transforms a lot of other things. So what we're going to do with this workshop, and I'm going to introduce some of the people who we conceived this workshop, is just have a discussion about digital transformation from all sides. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you the microphone. We're going to just pass it around. You tell us your name, tell us your company, tell us where you're from. If you want to say something else, but that will make it easier for us and for all of you to know who's here. And because we want to make this as participative, interactive as possible. So we don't have big things to discuss. We have 3 sessions that we decided to do it this way, but the idea is to talk, share experiences, ask questions. We'll try to answer them. We'll ask questions too, but but do participate. We really want to make it as participative as possible. So I'm going to start with Erick. You have your microphone.
Thanks, Hugo. So Erick Shneider, I'm on the board of directors of CrossTech. An honor to be there. I've worked in cross-border payments for more than my gray hairs can admit. There's Citibank, American Express, where I had the honor of meeting Priscilla there, for example. And then I've evolved into the digital side of sending remittances. I've done traditional side, and now I'm working with a crypto company and trying to figure out how that digital component is going to play.
And I've been very happy and proud to have done some consulting work with Erick, and we really enjoy that because I guess we learn from each other, correct? Nabil.
Nabil Kabani, hi everyone. I'm the CEO of NeoFi. We're a bank as a service provider. My background has been same thing with remittance for most of my life. I was 12, 15 years at Western Union, and then some other remittance companies, and lately in technology and fintech and banking as a service.
Yes, good.
Hello, Jorge Rivera, Primer Vicepresidente Banco Ficosa. I work in the banking business. We have offices in Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Panama. First time here. My colleagues, I don't know where they are. They should be here also.
Yes.
They have been working in that money remittance.
Yes, and I know Ficosa from almost the beginning. Yes, Ficosa es Financiera
Comercial Hondureña.
Hondureña, S.A. Yes.
Hi, everybody. Alex Pereira, founder and CEO of PMI Americas. We are a LATAM cross-border payment company based out of Mexico with operations in Colombia, Chile, Peru, Argentina, Brazil, and now Spain. We do mostly B2B, but we're now entering a little bit of the B2B2C, C2C, and very excited to be here. We're big fans of now CrossTech.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Maria Alejandra Borjas, Director of Compliance at Optima Compass Group, AML Service Provider.
AML Service Provider. What kind of services?
Monitoring, software monitoring, and case management, and the whole deal.
Okay, good. Presentes, sí. Sergio Pérez, the CEO of and founder of Mohr. Yes, we know. If you hear, you cannot be here on especially you. No, señor. Perdóname.
Qué malo eres. Sergio Pérez, More Money Transfer.
¿Cuántos años en este negocio?
20.
20 years?
20 years.
Yeah, very much. From foreign exchange to remittances, from remittances to fintech?
Yes.
Good.
This is a payment evolution.
The payment evolution.
More payment evolution.
The more, yes. Okay. That's okay.
Hi everyone, I am Andres Upegui. I am remittances and customer service of Banco Unión, before Giros y Finanzas in Colombia. Now we are agents from Western Union today.
Yes, good.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Jairo Ochoa. I work as the CMO of Inter & Co. Inter & Co is the new entity that is the result of USend, which was Pontual a couple of years ago, and Banco Inter from Brazil. So this is the new entity that joined forces to establish the U.S. operation right now. So I'm really excited to capitalize on the experience that USend and Pontual actually have done in the past years, combined with the experience of Banco Inter in Brazil.
Yeah, and we are so proud of that because we know Fernando Faisano since his beginning, for the beginnings. I mean, when he came to this event, you know, with trying to make Pontual el online company, and I think the first brand was Envío Llegó, yes, and so we've seen all the transformation, and now I'm just so glad that it's grown to what it will be, because so it's a great journey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carmen Rolom, and I'm a director of financial services. And we're an MSB. We send money. We're in California. We send money transfers to all Latin America.
And you're licensed in California?
We are actually agents from MoneyGram and Uniteller.
Oh, okay, good.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Leon Isaacs here. You can tell from my accent I'm not from this hemisphere. I'm from Europe. And I act in two roles. One as a consultant on remittances. I've been in this industry nearly as long as you, Hugo, maybe not quite as long. Started traditionally, I've become more and more a fan of digital. And also we have a separate business in Asia which looks to provide remittance price comparison and financial literacy tools for remittance users. Thank you.
Yes, from traveler checks and Thomas Cook and MoneyGram to the digital transformation. So that has been a journey, huh?
Hello, everyone. Cheyenne here on behalf of CMT Digital. We're operating a crypto to fiat and fiat to crypto conversion business, mostly over the counter. And it's a pretty brand new business, so we're in the process of developing it and making offerings to as many vendors as we can.
Great. James.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Martinez. I'm the international remittance head for Cebuana Jubileer Philippines. So what we do is we provide service distribution fulfillment service in the Philippines. So we cater deposit to accounts, e-wallets, and we also have our BAS network or branches in the Philippines. So we services mostly international or worldwide services for the Filipino communities market.
Yes, well, Cebuana Lullier, you pronounce it, I pronounce it in French, you pronounce it different, but Cebuana, I mean, it is the founding brand of remittances in Philippines. I mean, so many years in business. It's the main payer, basically, in the country, which is funny because I was talking with them yesterday. So it's Mexico and Philippines. They're third and fourth. And you see statistics, and then sometimes Philippines is third, then sometimes it's fourth. They're just fighting there. Because first and second, India and China. India is number one. I think China is number one, but nobody knows how much goes in and out of China. So what is known is number two, but it's probably number one anyway. Erlinda.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm Erlinda Sumanga from Cebuana Jubileer, the largest microfinancial company in the Philippines. So we work on providing secured loans, as well as money transfer, as well as insurance and any financial service that you can think of, specifically serving the underserved, the underbanked parts of the customer segment. So we work with most money transfer operators across the globe because of our over 30,000 local footprint in the Philippines. So any one of you who wanna work with us in terms of the Philippine corridor, so just give us, just approach us anytime. James works closly with me in terms of the cross-border business.
Thank you, Linda.
Hello, I'm Andres Delgado. I'm a CEO and founder of Sago, an international bill pay business stemming from the US outward. So basically what we're trying to do is make bill pay accessible to anyone here in the US, let them pay their bills outside the US, just directly, instantly, quickly, and safely, giving control back to the user. Your remittance people are looking at me kind of mad right now. It's okay. We can work together. We can be a happy family.
How long have you been in business?
We actually launched 3 months ago.
3 months.
And our first corridor is Peru. And we're looking to expand to as many different corridors as possible in the next year.
Okay, great. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Hi everyone, my name is Gigi Errázuriz. I'm from Honduras. I'm coming on behalf of Da Vivienda, which is a Colombian bank with subsidiaries in Honduras, Salvador, Costa Rica, and Panama. And I work in the retail business management. I'm looking forward to continue with the conference. It's my first time here, so I'm very excited to be here.
I'm glad to see Da Vivienda present, really. Mr. Guerrero.
Hey, Mr.
He's
Cuevas.
been longer in this industry than me.
Well, when we started, none of us had gray hair. So, Jorge Guerrero, I work in the compliance area with Maria Alejandra. She's my boss. We do anti-money laundering compliance services. We have software that helps banks, financial institutions, including MSBs here in the U.S. and abroad to comply with applicable regulatory requirements. And we also provide an extensive list of AML, BSA, OFAC, and sanctions lists services to the industry.
In 2005, Jorge was you were part of putting that an event. It was just one-time event, no?
It was a two-time event.
Two-time event?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So he is really the predecessor of the IMTC and CrossTech conferences, because that was early on. Yeah, he decided that compliance was better than doing conferences.
And I was right, because I needed somebody like you to make this work. This is fantastic. So congratulations again. I mean, a fantastic turnout.
No, thank you, Jorge.
So
You've been so influential in this industry. You are.
I think we've been in lockstep. So thank you. Good to see you.
Hello, everybody. I am Mateo Padle, the CEO and co-founder of Redsti. Redsti is a fintech startup doing FX in Peru and Canada soon. And we started with FX like 5 years ago. We do domestic, B2B, and B2C. We have exchanged around $4 billion of US dollars just in Peru. And now we are moving into cross-border remittance transfers. And yeah, we are looking here for partnerships and how to enter into this world.
Great. We need more fintechs in Latin America doing CrossTech. Good.
Hi all, my name is Sofia. I work for the sales team cover Latin America for Ripple. It's my first time in CrossTech. Amazing networking and everything. In the moment, we are focused in cross-border payments industry, moving money real time with our software. Looking forward to partner with a lot of you, and it's been great.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eduardo Cisneros. I also work for Ripple, Latin America, with Sofia and Gustavo. This is my second year in CrossTech. I'm very happy to be here. So as she said, we work on the cross-border payments, but also Ripple is a blockchain and crypto provider for enterprises.
Good.
We brought the whole team almost, but yeah, nice meeting everyone. My name is Gustavo as well. Nice to be in CrossTech for the first time. Personally, I've been doing tech sales and fintech as well, but in Ripple, it's been almost 2 years. Seeing some familiar faces, some clients, and some other prospects as well. So happy to be here and available and disposal for anyone that will be curious about what Ripple is doing.
Good. Wait a second.
Oh, thank you. I'm Harrison San Clemente. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Optima Compass Group. I work with Jorge and Maria. I've been working with Jorge for the last 22 years. And as he said, we offer compliance solutions, compliance technology solutions for MSB and other financial institutions. Nice to meet everyone.
Hi, nice to meet you all. My name is Adolfo Perez. I'm the IT manager for Global Envíos in Ecuador. We're a paymaster business with 20 plus years of experience in the Ecuadorian market. I'm looking forward to meeting you all and making new partners in this conference.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Rafael Alcántara. I'm CEO of Global Envíos. We're mainly based in Ecuador, but we also have businesses in whole Latin America and US and Europe, doing as a payment hub. But basically we're paymasters in Ecuador. Thank you. I've been here
How many years in business? You've been
well,
15?
formally, not as a lawyer, 22 years. But
Okay.
prior to that, I would say like my whole life.
Okay, all right.
I'm coming here 90% of the time.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Hi, my name is Javier Cosme, and I'm the head of the Foreign Exchange Desk in TransNetwork. I've been in the industry for about 15 years, and in TransNetwork just for a year and a half.
Good.
Hello, my name is Jean-Paul Haddad. I'm with Maxi Transfers. I'm the CFO for the company. I've been in the industry for 16 and a half years already, and we are a money transfer company serving, we used to serve just one corridor, US Latin America, but recently, like a month ago, we started Asia, a new corridor, Asia, specifically Philippines and Vietnam. So we're excited about that and been here several times.
Nice to know. Thank you, Jean-Paul. Mr. Munir.
Good afternoon. Hi everyone, my name is Munir Khan. I'm the CEO of Pro Legal Compliance. We're based in London. I set up the company in 2010. I'm former Barclays corporate manager. I got into the field of compliance because I noticed there was a big gap in the market. Only the major corporates were dealing with the industry. So we set up like a middle ground, helping ethnic minority diaspora get compliant. And we've just opened up our latest office in Dubai. So prior to, in total, I've been in the industry for 24 years. Obviously, you can see it. But we deal with a lot of.
I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah,
I can't see anything.
It'll grow if I leave it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not much, but yeah, it's been. I mean, I've worked, like many of you, have worked through 2 recessions, and obviously, it's great that we have these type of events, especially post-COVID. And I thank Hugo, Priscilla, and their team for putting together a fantastic event. We basically specialize in licensing. So we're headquartered out of London, but we deal with international licensing. We have clients from Africa, from Asia, from China, and Latin America. And I look forward to speaking to any of you if you're interested in learning more about licensing in the European Union. Thank you.
And we work with Munir. You know, with our clients, we work together developing different things, even in some mergers and acquisitions too, which he does in you know, the UK and some of the other countries in Europe too. Okay, good. Ready? So I'm going to leave you to it. I think, yeah, I've talked too much.
Hi everyone, I'm Priscilla D'Oliveira-Friedman. Not sure if you've seen me before, but if you didn't, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm the new COO of CrossTech, and since the beginning of this year, we started dividing our company to consulting division, conference division, and we launched a new product called Magazine. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the digital transformation that we've done within the CrossTech division, and I hope you like it. And one of our biggest partner and board member is Erick Shneider. So he's someone that we trust, and we work together in many projects, and I'm glad you guys are going to be able to hear from him. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Priscilla. Nothing like a little bit of pressure there to go on, right? So we wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about what we can talk about in digital transformation. And what's interesting is the concept of digital transformation is not new. You had talked about telex, for example, shifting to fax. For me, there's something that is universally true, that we constantly have to be evolving and moving forward. This is not just for customer satisfaction. This is not just for gross margin optimization. This is not just for valuations that we're looking for. This is the entire world where we have to be adapting in order to continue to survive. This is a huge topic, the digital component. There's relevance there not only for the crypto side, hey Ripple, there's also a component for the traditional worlds, Ficosa for example there, but there's also on the digital side as well. And there's a merging across the board, which is we're going to talk about. There's a little bit that applies to everybody over here. We kept this as high level as possible because we could get lost in one strategy piece. JMMB, welcome guys, great to see you guys over here. One of the key pieces that we wanted to highlight on this part is there are multiple components. And of the components, the way that we broke this down is into 5. Are there more? Probably. Can it be categorized into one of these? That's the idea. And I'll start a little bit about customer journey. So what does customer journey means? This is the user interface. This is the digital side, but it's also how do you acquire clients. And so it's not just exclusive to the tech the guys who are using a website or an app to be using it. This is relevant for anybody. How do you get an agent to sign on board? Like from California, how do we expand that piece there going forward? So I think that key part is one where we're going to expand. The funds collection. This is an area where, especially in the United States, in my opinion, is archaic, right? You have the ACH platform, you're still dealing with cash, it's expensive. How do you optimize this? Crypto is one area, the real-time payments is another one. We'll talk a little bit more about that detail. The next one there is service providers, and I think this is an interesting one. We had the AML component talking about over here. There, Jorge, my friend there, is in this component. This, to me, is a concept that is not new, but I think incredibly relevant, is one company doesn't have to be the best at every single thing that they do. They have to focus on generating users or on driving adoption, something to that effect, and there are third-party providers that can provide excellence and service within this space. The next one that we have is aggregators. We've talked about aggregators and payers. There are different types of evolution of aggregators. So Transnetwork, for example, in the short period of time, there's been some acquisitions going through. Transnetwork has solidified its position. What's the priority of an aggregator? What's the relevance of a payer that you go through? And then what's the strategy that you do between those two? Do you go direct? Do you work with an aggregator? Is there a benefit for, and I happen to think there is, for the record there. And then on the payer side, what's interesting is there are a few different components to this. If you're a traditional company, and you say you send to Mexico, Electra, of course it's important, right? It's one of the larger payers, but it's predominantly cash. If you take a look at the digital component, to assure that you are addressing every single segment within the money service business, you want to make sure that you're sending to a bank account or eventually a crypto wallet there, right? And how do you service that? And how do you prioritize payers based on a segment approach? So here we broke it down into the 5 key parts. To me, this isn't we want to make it look pretty on a slide or I'm going to look good for this quarter. This is the key driver, in our opinion, of top-line growth, of bottom-line growth, and ensuring that we're growing customer base, number of transactions, all while being compliant. Right? If we get that secret sauce all together, there should be success in this method. So I talked high level about customer journey there. One of the key parts that I think is a little bit different is the ownership model. So when we talk about from a digital company, for example, the digital owns the customer themselves. They go out, they acquire it through the search engine optimization. That customer is theirs. They onboard it, they do the KYC component, and they're able to manage them because they have their phone number or their email address. That whole approach is going to decide how they reach out, how they engage with the customers in a little bit of a different format than a traditional company. So a traditional company is going to work with agents. But agents, by definition, then, becomes the customer themselves. Right? And how do you manage the optimization of the agent, I think is going to be important just as well as how you manage the underlying user. And there's some tech components to this. The second piece is funds collection. So I talked a little bit about how archaic it is in the United States. We've traveled to Brazil, for example, on a few different market visits. You see the evolution of PIX. You see in Africa the adoption of mobile money and the expectation that if I send someone money, it hits their account immediately, which is companies such as Ripple are trying to change in this piece. It's not there yet. And this is a bit of the frustration, right? How do you optimize this within your own company? One of the key challenges is in the United States, if you're accepting a bank transfer or if you're working with agents and funds are hitting the account a few days later, you have to front load that. So you have to go out to a financial institution, get a standby letter of credit or some type of funding in order to offset that. The faster you grow, the more expensive this becomes. Now, of course, with rising interest rates, this is a very delicate matter to talk about. How do we get the ability to connect with customers and to receive those funds as soon as possible so there's not that intermediate step where the property or the company itself is doing the funding? And there are a few different ways of doing that, right? Debit and credit cards are talking about funding through Circle, for example. USDC is one of the components for immediate settlement. How can someone get paid in cryptocurrencies across the board for immediate settlement, which of course is the important part. And then in the United States, there's been a lot of discussion of real-time payments. This to me has been an incredibly slow process. This was promised in 2022, and here we are, and most people don't even know what RTP stands for in the market. Banks have not adopted it. The promise is eventually it's coming. I think that there are some adjustments that have to be done from a digital standpoint in order to ensure that you connect it. Because this is not flipping a switch, and this is, I think, one of the biggest challenges when you're talking about digital is it's not just a natural evolution. You're connected to an API, you've got a financial institution, this is done. All of this takes work and attention. The next topic, service providers that I highlighted. Throughout each stage of the customer journey, for example, there is an opportunity to outsource. And this is why, going back to Hugo's point of the rapid surgence of the licensing there and how the companies have gone much more digital, this is how a digital operator can do it. They find a niche, they're getting customers onboarded, and then they're able to use a third-party provider to offer the licenses if they don't go direct, to offer the compliance services, to collect the funding, for example, to do the marketing, to do the positioning on. And I think this is really important, that you finding the balance where you don't outsource too much so that you don't have an intrinsic value, but that you don't slow your company down by trying to do everything in-house and reinventing the wheel. And finding that balance, of course, I don't pretend to have the answer, but it's different for each company. Another stage on this is white label. And this to me is a potential revenue driver, but an additional challenge. A lot of companies have said, okay, how much more is the industry going to grow? We're at well over $700 billion a year. How do we gain more market share in this? How do we make more money? And one of the areas that was taken a look at is, how do we leverage what we've already built out and monetize this? So the white labeling solution came through. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Are there some players that have done better than others? Yes. This to me, though, I think is an interesting one to take a look at, in which we have an area of expertise, and there's a potential over here in order to monetize the licenses that you have, the software that you've developed, or the entire process that you've done in order to participate in incumbents. There are a lot of interesting factors when you do. Not just monetizing it so that you make a revenue share model per transaction, for example, but you're also gaining exposure to potential companies that are coming in. They're relatively small, they have a good idea. You're able to acquire talent this way. Of a company, for example, that has a CFO or a C-suite person who's a startup entrepreneur, they're trying something, they're small. That's some way to attract talent into your company by saying, all right, we can expand by offering the white label. The next one is on an investment standpoint. One of the biggest challenges is, what do we do with our free cash? Do we hold it over? Do we pay it to our shareholders? Do we buy a yacht? I like the third one, of course, but the idea is, how do we continue to invest in our growth? And one of those ways is inorganic growth. You either take a position as an investment standpoint, or you do a full-in acquisition, which we've seen in the markets there. The World Remit buying Sendwave, for example, and that's another inorganic way to grow. The next is the non-aggregators. We touched base on this a little bit there, and taking a look at if there's a digital-only component, it's going to drive what's going to be relevant for you on the aggregation side. You can also scale very quickly. The benefit of that segment on the digital side is it's much more likely to send funds through a bank account. If that's the case, and you eliminate markets such as Guatemala, which are well over 80% there in cash, you're going to be able to focus on some of the large corridors. Hugo, you had mentioned between Philippines and Mexico. Mexico is now a little over 20% in bank accounts. So 20% isn't necessarily huge, but when you're talking about $50 billion, $10 billion is actually quite large there. And so to being able to focus and getting multiple markets across the way through one aggregator, again, it's not flipping a switch, right? But it's much faster to grow. This is going to be different than a traditional model, though. A traditional model is much more reliant on cash and going through, and there are still markets that are necessarily driven by that, but it's something to consider. Crypto payments, as you guys know on the Ripple side, I'm a huge proponent of this there. I think there's a lot of opportunities to do this. The on-demand liquidity component eliminates the volatility of, for example, it's fast, it's less expensive, and you don't have the volatility with the crypto piece. I think recent events with FTX, I was just at a few different conferences. One of them is La BitConf in Argentina, and you can't walk 5 meters without saying, did you hear what happened with FTX? What's going on? What are the effects that are going on in that piece? I think it's an interesting one in which traditional companies are a little bit more reluctant to adopt because of all the volatility in the market. My personal thoughts on this, only I'd love to hear your thoughts on this later, is this has been driven by speculation. Right? The speculatory market, we put the cart before the horse, so to speak. People are speculating and hoping to make tons of money because of the success of Bitcoin, which grew 17,000% since its launch in 2009. It's probably not going to happen again. It's a unicorn event to go through, and it's been distracting to people actually building applications and functionality. The underlying functionality, however, still is exactly the same. Build on a blockchain, use the token to provide payments across the rails. It's less expensive. The data that you're able to store, you'll be able to put an invoice on there. You'll be able to capture all the information on a real-time basis. So I think there's significant potential for growth on this side. The last one, if I could just talk about the payers over here. What's interesting is there's been an insurgence, and our friends at Cebuana have talked about this, right? Going after the unbanked or the underserved on this. There are different ways to approach this, and it's not always in putting in a bank branch so that they have access. The proliferation of telephones, for example, I think has taken our business significantly forward in being able to rely on having bank accounts attached to your phone as basic as they can be. It spans the horizons across the board. Which those payers are, though? Do you want to connect to DaviPlata and Ñequi, for example, in Colombia and be as relevant right off the board? What's the relevance of, I think, is different for which type of company that you go through. Last thing that over here that I broke it down on is traditional companies on one side and then digital-focused companies on another. There's a lot of overlap. And the underlying components, I think, are absolutely the same, which are the 6 that we've put on top. The way they approach them, though, I think is the different piece. From a customer standpoint, we talked a little bit, right? It's about the customer acquisition cost there. It's a little bit different from a traditional company. A traditional company wants to grow through agents, and then the agents are supposed to bring in the individual customers, and there's some joint marketing there that provided support. However, from a digital-only part, search engine optimization is very important. Being able to advertise online, which we talked about the marketing piece, it brings in the customer acquisition cost. We had given some directional pricing of around $50 there per customer to come in. That's expensive. And the concern with expensive is, how do you bring those funds back?
And I'm going to mention something, Eric, is that most of the traditional companies, very, very few, had in mind that the agent was the customer. The customer went to my agent who had my brand, and that's how I felt it. And I had, as a consultant, I had so many discussions saying, I mean, in a traditional model, it's the agent who owns that customer. They go there because they trust that. I mean, and we know that, but very, very few companies really, I think, have done a very good job just caring for the agents. Most companies, traditional companies, have always hated their agents. And you cannot hate your customer. If you hate your customer, go home, do something else. I mean, if you have a hotel and you hate your guest in the hotel, what are you doing, But most of traditional companies, and I've worked so much into this traditional model because it still exists. It's what 85% of the business still goes through agents, or even I know it's declining, et cetera, and it's declining in different countries, and it's happening. But people will continue to go to agents because especially migrants, they feel that connection, that personal connection. They want to be there because they're treated as persons. They're treated as a human being, while maybe the rest of society are rejecting you. You go there, you feel welcome. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's important that in this digital transformation, so many companies are forgetting that digital transformation also might involve the agent. I mean, agents do a lot of work. How can we make digitally their work easier? And that's for a long discussion, but I just wanted to make that point.
Spot on, Hugo. Thank you. I think the customer relationship management is going to be the same. What's difference is, to Hugo's point, is the underlying customer for traditional is the agent. And how do you optimize that relationship going forward? Because it's the agent's ultimate decision in how to promote your company to the end user. The next one I mentioned over here is pricing. And this was an incredibly important one, and having a dynamic pricing structure in place is key. This is how you optimize, and I'm sure trading side there, right, for Transnetwork. I think this part, you've got the visibility in order to ensure that you've got the right price in place. This is the right foreign exchange to do, this is the right price per tier. How do you try to drive customer engagement and adoption? Do you want them to send $500, or do you want them to send $499? Do you have two different tranches? You don't want them to send under $10, for example, or $20. You make it highly punitive, but at the same time, maybe it's the first time that they're using a transaction, they online, for example. How do they balance this? So taking all this optimization through to ensure that you've got the right pricing model is essential for driving bottom line and top line growth. We've talked a little bit about marketing. Both companies need marketing. Traditional companies have traditionally spent less in marketing because they don't have that $50 per end user acquisition, but I think more can be done there. Whether the agents, whether the optimization of growth, getting the brand across there. When was the last time that we saw someone walk in from the street into an agent and say, I want to send with Via Americas, or I want to say with Intermex? It doesn't happen that often. It's, I want to send to Mexico, I trust this agent, and I want to buy a Coca-Cola and a little bit of food from the same place. And this, to me, I think, is getting the branding across without spending too much money, because this is one of the biggest challenges in marketing. How do you measure directly the impact, right? The next one is user experience, and this one, to me, I think is so important. This goes to Hugo's point there. On the traditional side, you have some user experience side from the end user itself. To me, I think it's arcane that every time a traditional user goes into a different agent of that same one, let's say Via Americas or Intermex there, they have to go through the entire KYC process. It doesn't transfer across the board. There's no regulatory components there. I see you guys taking a look at one another there. Keep me honest on this part. Is there a regulatory concern for doing something like that, or is it operational? It's operational, right? So this, to me, it comes down to user experience. And they do this, try to prioritize agents, but I think it's highly punitive, in all honesty. Another component, though, is the agent itself. What can you do in order to optimize the relationship with the agent? Having a portal so that they have access to real-time transfers, any type of feedback, what's going on the fly? Are there any type of promotions that are being done? Are we going to say, if you hit 10,000 transactions this month, we will give you an X amount of grant, something to that effect? I think there's ways to optimize the relationship there. And then when we take a look at the digital side, this is the funnel optimization that everybody looks at on the digital piece, right? It's where do we get the customer from, whether it's Facebook and to go through. Do they click on our piece? Do they include their email address? Do they go through the KYC process? Do they download the information that's required? Do they provide the information on their sender? Do they affect the credit card or bank account details? Do they do their first transaction? Do they do their second transaction? Do they do the third transaction? That's the overall funnel across the board, right? And I think oversight on this is incredibly important, because that's what drives volume and adoption. We also have due diligence. This one, to me, I think is such an important piece that's done on the back end. It's one of those necessary evils that's seen as a cost function. How can you streamline this? And this ties in a little bit to the previous slide that I had mentioned, where there are some service providers that you can outsource this to in order to expedite the adoption. A lot of people on the compliance side are saying, I'm busy, I can't do things like this because I'm reviewing this partnership list, and they have to do a re-review every 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, etc. There are ways to optimize this, and one of them is by outsourcing it to a company that has a universal portal, that is trusted, that has the last annual review, that has the signed documentation to go through, it has all the licensing piece. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, here's my packet, I need your packet back, being done, and in 2 days a re-review is done in a matter of seconds to go on. We're not 100% there, but I think we're definitely there with some outsourcing partners. And then the pay-ins. This is the one that I mentioned there, RTP, real-time payment, leveraging a crypto component there in order to settle funds across the board. I flew through those slides. I know I hit you guys with a lot. We didn't dive deeper into what are the financial metrics, what are the numbers behind, what's the adoption percentage of interest of time. But we did want to leave you guys with a concept of digital is not just an interesting option or potential theory or something that applies only to a website or to an app. This is something that we're going to need in order to do continuous growth. For any additional questions, please reach out to Hugo, Priscilla, or myself. Thank you, guys.
Now we will continue with the second session, but we'll have Erick stay, and we will make it more of a discussion. I took time to make the presentations because I thought it was important. We have a break now coming, and we have to thank our sponsor, Machain, Mr. Alex Navarro and his team is a bonding company. Thank you very much. They've been probably one of the long-time sponsors of IMTC because, and now we have other bonding companies. To get a license in the United States, you need a bond, and the state's required for the protection of the consumer. So I'm just saying that for other people from other countries that they don't know what is a bonding company. It's una compañía de fianzas. So we will stay here. We can discuss. If you want to go out, have a coffee, come back. We'll be back in about 45 minutes, and then we're going to have the second session, and we're going to have Alex, me, Priscilla, and we'll continue this discussion. So, thank you.